Hello, welcome to Boss Capital Live. I'm at Boss Capital here. My name is Michael Chu. This is U.S. stock market video recap for the week ending October 3rd, 2025. This is Nasdaq Composite Index. Here on this chart, you can see this is a weekly chart. We've seen lots of rallies since bottom of 2022 here, and during those rallies, I also mark up how many weeks up, and you can see 19, 21, 12, 14 before like any sort of like significant pullback or correction. And right now we are 26 weeks up, like the longest rally since 2022, and it's still going. So it just shows the tremendous power of this rally. So here's the daily chart. Along the way of this rally, we do see pullbacks to the 10-day here. And then here we see a test of the pink line, which is 21 day. And then here we see another one, here we see another one, here we see another one. Here we see a 10-day pullback, here we see 10-day pullback. Again, very strong momentum so far. On Friday, well, this week we have pretty much up days, 4 days, of the week. And then Friday we have somewhat of a reversal and close near the bottom of the range. So that's slightly concerning. Closing week on Friday is usually not a good thing. Now, but that can be overcome next week if it just continues its trend, right? But if we start pulling back like this, we have 2 weeks ago we had this 3-day pullback, pretty sharp. So we could enter another pullback here, and that's something to watch out for, right? So the key is like when we have a upside reversal, I mean sorry, a downside reversal, going back down. So yeah, we just need to be a little bit cautious here when we get a downside reversal and just like not falling through the next few days and keep sliding down, right? We should see a bounce very soon. Otherwise, this again start to turn a little bit ugly. Um, at some point, it will break the 21 day as well, like here. We see three in a row here. And then sometimes we come close to it, but we never actually even come near it. Big chart, strong rally as well, making new highs again. So yeah, the indexes are doing really well. On the daily chart, it did have a reversal as well on Friday after a nice 6-day run here. However, it's still closed positive for the week, so that's still a pretty good bar there. Same here with the Dow Jones. Again, making new highs here, closing for the week very strong near the top of the range. And then here we see this pullback here recently from a week ago, and then we're able to slowly slide back out. And Friday we make a pretty big move here, coming out again. So that is good news. It did reverse, close near the, at the bottom range, but overall it's still a good bar because it make new high. And here's Russell. Russell continuous run. This one finally make new closing high. So that is very bullish. And we'll see if this trend will continue. A word that I will say more in this video will be like bull traps. Are we gonna see more bull traps? Like hopefully we don't see bull trap, right? Like sometimes as index trying to break out or stocks trying to break out, they fail. Now, and that could be the top, right? In some of the rallies, sometimes when they top, that's usually what happens is the stock try to break out, but it couldn't. So we'll have to see if this will happen here. But given Nasdaq, S&P, and Dow has already hit new high more earlier, we haven't seen that yet, right? So at this moment, we can presume that this will probably follow the same trend. Now, if those indexes are also showing topping signs, then yes, there's a high likelihood that Russell will be topping here too. But again, we have to kind of look at it not just individually, but as a whole in the marketplace. So here we see the sharp pullback on the daily Russell here, and at the beginning it just kind of slide along to the side, and then Thursday is starting to make a move, and Friday it came out again. So that is very very reinforcing that this rally has continued its momentum right now. Another good sign for the market is also the equal weight Nasdaq 100 here, QQEW. it also was able to come out of this base here and start to make new highs. And you can see we start to we have we came out on Monday and then we pulled back slightly, but then Wednesday we see this big bounce here, and that started the new breakout uptrend here. So that looks pretty good. RSP also doing the same thing. This is S&P 500 equal weight. This one came out on Friday. It did reverse, but ultimately it's still a nice day for the market as it is closing at a new high. So that also give a better perspective of the broader market. Now, with that being said, there is caveat I want to bring up right now. This is general market indicators from the Investors Business Daily newspaper. What we're seeing here is the New York Stock Exchange advanced decline line here. Now, you might notice that this line hasn't made new highs since probably a few weeks ago, in early September, and that's a concern because the S&P actually has been making new high. Now, why is there a difference here compared to what we just saw in, say, RSP, the equal weight S&P 500 ETF? Well, this one measures the number of stocks up versus down. So what this is telling me is there's way more stocks not really moving, like going down, and versus stocks going up. So from that sense, we haven't really gained much momentum. So in terms of the number of stocks, it hasn't gained much momentum. Now, looking at Nasdaq, very similar. We top around here, right here, and we are starting to come back, but just like the S&P, but it just hasn't made new high. Again, showing some sort of divergence here. Again, based on the number of stocks. So when you're looking at the number of stocks, meaning more than half the stocks are actually hasn't made progress since a few weeks ago. Now, when we look at RSP and QQEW, that one measure based on the price performance, right? So that is not the number of stocks. So the price performance is actually better on the, let's say this was about even 50%. We're up, 50% were down, but the price movement on the 50%, the top 50% are much bigger than the downside movement on the bottom 50, right, percent. So that's the discrepancy there. In terms of what to make out of it is that there is some stocks that are moving and the price performance is not bad. But overall, the market breadth is actually still not very strong based on the number of stocks, right? So those are the two things to consider. So here's in a way the IBD 50 ETF, top 50 stocks here. So the week before we had that pullback, pretty severe week there. We talked about that last week. This week we were able to bounce back, so that's good news. And it didn't make new high, but at least it came pretty close to the high here, and it closed near the week high. So it's not bad. It close range is 6%, so meaning it's the top and close near the 40% top mark. On the daily chart again, you can see this pullback here, pretty strong pullback, and we have rebound. Now the only thing is this is lagging a little bit, right? Because we see some of the index making new highs, but yet the IBD 50 here hasn't made new high. So that is a little bit concerning, and the relative strength, you can see we are nowhere near the top. So that tells me growth stocks are actually underperforming compared to the index based on just this relative strength. So that's very interesting, right? So that's why in my next video, which I will talk about my list of growth stocks, there's a lot of stocks in downtrend. Almost to the are in downtrend. So again, the breadth is not good when we look at that, and also when we look at this based on price performance of the top 50 stocks, this is the top 50, right? This is not even the whole 400 stocks list that I'm following. This is just the top 50 from IBD, and they're still underperforming in terms of price. So my point is, I don't know when the market will top, but these are signs of topping signs, right? Because growth stocks from a growth stock perspective, we don't want to see this. We want to see the growth stocks lead the market, not and outperforming the general market, right? Not underperforming. So from that perspective, I'm more cautious, right? Just look at news quickly here. The JOLTS report from on Tuesday, measuring job openings came in better than expected. So that's good. So the U.S. government is shut down right now since Wednesday, and on that day, the payroll actually from ADP in terms of new jobs came in at 32,000 for month of September by 50,000 jobs. So um, and also it revised its payroll figure for August to net drop of 3,000 as well. So that's not good. But market didn't react negatively to this news. In fact, S&P rallied to a new all-time high that day, giving it a four straight gain. Now on Thursday, we see some bad news with Tesla, where it reversed after delivering better quality vehicle deliveries, which is kind of interesting. Basically, it's like sell on the news. But also the tax credit for 7,500 US has expired as well. So that could be, maybe it will hurt their down next few quarters or whatever. So again, on Friday we're supposed to get the jobs report, but due to federal government shutdown, we don't have that data. We don't have that report. We're also seeing U.S. crude oil tumble quite a bit here on anticipation of another OPEC production hike this Sunday. In terms of next week, we are seeing economic data. The weekly jobless claims will be most likely suspended. So yeah, we won't get any weekly claims data again due to government shutdown. We do see Fed September meeting minutes, so maybe that will be released. And then we're also seeing that Jerome Powell, and Scott Bessent, the secretary, may give remarks on Thursday. And then we have the University of Michigan Consumer Survey out on Friday. So here's some of the ETFs, FTY and the innovative IB50 we talked about earlier. It's up 3.1%. IGA, the software sector, dipped 0.1%, and that was due to Palantir stock going down. We'll talk more about that in a minute there. And then we have SMH, the semiconductor group, jumped 4.6% with NVDA leading that group. We have ARC Innovation ETF, lift 6.3%, so very strong performance. ARC-G Genomics went up a lot, 11.6%. Metal Mining Group is up 5.8%, so that's doing really well in the gold, precious metals area. We have Jets only up 0.2%, Home Builders up 1.6%, and Energy Select is down 3.4%, and the healthcare sector is 8.5%. So a couple of groups, and I'll talk more about this in my growth stocks video. Please make sure to follow that. We will highlight some health stocks, and we'll highlight a lot of gold stocks, and here we'll talk more about the chip area in a second here. Industrials gained 1.2%, and the financial actually weak, slipping 0.35%. For the week here, IBD signal is still very strong, 80 to 100% allocation. Despite the government shutdown talks and then actually happening, the market keep hitting new highs. Now we did reverse from Friday, as we talked about earlier. It did have a mild distribution day on Nasdaq, and so that give it currently five distribution days on Nasdaq and three on S&P. Although we only been seeing like one a week, so there's a high chance some of this will start to be outdated, right? Because there's a 5 weeks count time. In terms of stocks under accumulation versus distribution, it was overall turns close like positive for the week. As on Friday, you see 293 stocks under accumulation versus 192 stocks, and then on the industry group side, it was negative for the week, meaning there's more groups going down. Again, this also signify very interesting. But then on Friday, we were able to have more positive groups than down groups. On the sector side, technology and retail hasn't performing as strong. Um, Industrial and health, right? Look at health, 73 stocks. This is net accumulation minus distribution. So the number of stocks being accumulated minus distributed, and we have significantly more stocks being accumulated in the health. I don't even remember the last time I see such a high number. So health groups are really moving. Um, so that's very interesting. So money is rotating there, and commodities came back down this week. It was really high last week. It closed at 66. But by Friday we're able to close at the high for the week. And gold and silver they bounce back from Thursday's drop intraday high. So that also helps. And financial continue to be very weak now for 2 weeks in a row. Like you can see, it just hasn't made any headway. So that is a little bit concerning. So as the market going up, hitting new highs, the 10 year has just gradually sliding down. So it's under the short-term moving average right now. So that's a good thing. The US dollar also slide back down this week, also helping the equity market a little bit there. Now the oil price really took a tumble this week, as we mentioned earlier on the ETF. Yeah, so some of the oil and gas stock might have been hit harder here. Gold, very strong. Thursday we see a big pullback intraday. However, most of the gold stocks were able to close near mid-range or even higher. And Friday we continue to close at a new high. So that is very impressive. Silver here, wow, look at that, making new highs as well. Look at copper. Copper is really shining right now. This is now starting to bounce back really fast. Sector area that I've been hearing on IBD lately is this one, uranium nuclear area sector, and you can see it has a nice momentum right now. And it did reverse from a high on Friday, but overall it closed near the middle range, so it looks pretty good still. Going into the Bitcoin, we see a sharp rebound this week, starting from Monday pretty much, because Monday we start to bounce back, and then Wednesday we actually came back above this trend line, and it followed through the whole week, and now all of a sudden we are pretty much near the highs here, so this is quite impressive. Ethereum is also bouncing back. It has dropped further than Bitcoin, and so it did come out of this trend line just slightly. So we'll see if that can follow through next week. We're gonna look at the mega cap techs right now, and we'll start with the semiconductor group. On the weekly chart, we just continue to see this momentum building as we broke out a few weeks ago, and so 1, 2, 3 weeks now, and look at how fast it's moving towards the 20% profit zone. So it's quite incredible. After this breakout right here, this is really the first big move, and now we are at the top here. Here's NVIDIA. This is the base right here. And it came out of this base this week on Tuesday, and right here, and then it was able to fall through Wednesday, Thursday, and then on Friday we gave back some. Now it didn't close at the bottom. It closed yeah, at the top 77% range, so just near the top, so that's pretty good. Let's look at other chip stocks here. We have Broadcom, AVGO. It tries to come out here. Now, unfortunately, it just doesn't have the power on 2 days in a row, Thursday and Friday, to even hold decisively above the short-term moving average there. So this is a little bit hesitant to come back, and relative strength has really weakened. So definitely something to be cautious about. Next we have AMD here. This is also a pretty negative reversal. It tries to come out on Thursday, which it did, but then Friday we give back everything and more, and now we are now again just below the short-term moving averages there. Taiwan Semiconductor came out a few weeks ago. This was one of the earlier strength, and it continues to do well. And even Friday, it's able to make a new closing high, so that is quite impressive. We're gonna move into the software group. IGV is the ETF here. This one has been underperforming, only down, actually down 0.1%. So it wasn't even up for the week. So that is actually not a good thing. So we have this short consolidation here. It tries to break out for a few days, but then it came back in. And since it came back in, it really hasn't made much headway since from the bounce here. It's continued to underperform. Look at this relative strength line, continue to go down. Um, I'm going to emphasize this more and more, because, the thing to study is relative strength line, especially at times like this where there's so many areas that are not working. There's areas that are working, but there's also areas that are not working, and also specific stocks that are not working. And I would say, any stocks that are showing relative strength line going down for the last few weeks, I would be very cautious about that. So this is not showing good signs at all right now. This is Microsoft. Again, relative trend line has been going down for a while now. In fact, it hasn't bounced whatsoever. This is very concerning. It has been trading mostly below the in the bottom half of the range as well. So it hasn't even come close to near the middle ground. So base building generally, does take time, but I feel like this one is taking longer than most space would have starting to form the right side. The other thing I'll note is, there is a bearish pattern forming here, which is what I call the L-shaped pattern. Now, sometimes L-shaped pattern will eventually turns into a cup and comes back up on the right side. But the longer this is, the more worrisome I have, because it's just showing that, especially recently we have nice new highs on the indexes, but yet Microsoft is not moving. This is very concerning. So earlier, 2 weeks ago, Google has recently topped and has been pulling back. Now the pullback has been pretty orderly. We're not seeing huge drop or huge bar, and we are finding support near the pink line 21 day here. And however, the trend line is now down, as you can see here clearly from the top prices there in the last few weeks. So whether this will come back out, that depends. We'll see. But that's what we are waiting for. Now Meta is definitely looking very concerning. We are making pretty much new lows right now. So that is not a good news right there. Same thing with Amazon. We are, going sideways, building this space, and right now. Now it defines support right here. So as long as it can hold, but Friday was rejected as it tries to come out, but it completely reversed. So again, this is not looking good. So Palantir is definitely one of the leader in the AI software service area as well. It was building this really nice cup and a side handle here, and it was this week it was starting to come back just like the index are, and everything was looking good until Friday. It came out, I think, just slightly maybe on Thursday, and then Friday it just couldn't go further, and it dropped pretty significantly. Here's the intraday chart here. So Thursday we came out to a newer high, and then Friday we just couldn't hold on, as there's news broke out that, so the news was related to a report that the prototype battlefield communication network being developed by the firm has fundamental security problems. So anyhow, once that news hit, the stock has dropped pretty hard, and then you can see more selling came in the middle of the day, and it just never recovered. Like it just didn't recover. So it is a big drop here, 7%. Right now I can see after hours it was 1%, but again that's just minuscule compared to this drop. So in a way, this chart is technically broken right now, and the volume is really high, obviously, and close at the bottom of the range. It could start to consolidate here again, or it can break wide and loose. So we don't know. So we'll just be more patient about this. So unfortunately, this was a slightly of a bull trap if you try to get in too early. Yeah. Here's Apple. With the iPhone 17 debut, it has done really well since, continue to find support. It's not making too much of a headway, but it's not going down either. So it's okay, and it's near a previous high here on the base. Looking at the weekly chart, yeah, it's near, very near the previous high, so it might break out anytime soon. Tesla has a pretty negative reversal here. It's down 2.4% of the week, but that's from last week's high close. But it actually went up much higher before closing down to the bottom of the range. So this is a very ugly reversal for the week on the weekly chart. And so on Wednesday it was still doing well, and then Thursday was the delivery numbers and then the EV credit expiring and all that, and the market start to react. And obviously this has a nice run recently, and so it's normal to see profit taking. And then Friday we kind of fall through with that sell off. It did close not at the bottom of the range, so that's some relief there. It did close in the middle ground. Now we are in a, if you draw a downtrend line from the top of those 2 days, is obviously very steep. So we'll see what happens after. And here we are with Netflix. More news came out with Netflix, at least on Twitter X, where Elon Musk is kind of, yelling from the rooftop, telling people to cancel Netflix due to some shows talking, portraying more transgender in the children type of shows and stuff. So which create a big controversial. There might be other related things, I'm not sure, but anyhow, the stock is acting very negatively right now. And also, I think it did hit a new low here, so that is not good. Let me see, 1134 is a new low here. So this is not looking good at all. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please follow my next video where I'll go through even more growth stocks on the list, and let's see what is still moving and what has really come down. Thank you. Please like and subscribe.